Welcome to MEDMEN. My name's Pim and that's Andy.
And what are we talking about today, Pim?
Today, Andy, we are talking about whether MEDDICC is for pipeline generation.
And is it?
Yes, end of show. No, just joking. We can talk about this a little bit. I know that's funny, right? But
Yeah.
This is a real question because many customers come to us, and I think our industry in general, a lot of people still think it's for selling and closing.
Yeah,
right?
well, just qualifying is the most common one, right? Where people think that MEDDICC is just a qualification framework, just this checklist, just the X-ray, all these ways of using it, which really, really, really narrow the full benefit that you can get from MEDDICC if you consider it to be a common language. And, you know, the best way we like to define this as a common language is to talk about three things: value, right? Stakeholders, and process. Because it doesn't matter where you are in the customer engagement process or life cycle. It's all about what value can I bring to this customer, which stakeholders inside of that customer's business care about this, and where are we? Like, what should we be doing at the right time, which is the process part of things. And the SDR team, BDR team, whatever you want to call them, they're right at the very beginning, and we would class that as the value stage of positioning. And positioning, of course, starts with, you know, everything we say from product. Product teams start with positioning, thinking about, you know, again, what value will this product bring to the customers and which ones and all that sort of stuff, through to marketing, who, of course, are, you know, the biggest stakeholder in positioning, through to the SDR team, who are then the ones that need to go and get the traction with the customers. And so if you think about it, if you are an SDR and you're considering, you know, you've got an ideal customer profile you're considering reaching out to, and now you have this common language that's going to tell you, you know, very, very clearly, again, you have to be proactive. You have to be thinking about MEDDPICC more broad than just qualification, but as that whole common language, it's going to tell you, you know, what pain do we solve for customers like this, and what gain do they get from solving that pain, and what's the measure, what's the delta between those two states, you know, what are the metrics, what is it that the customer will need from a solution like this?
Decision criteria.
And so those are kind of the value elements. And then we look at the stakeholder elements, which are, of course, who's the champion or likely champion at this point. And so again, an SDR is probably not going to be able to tell from the outside looking in who the champion is. But what they can do is use the common language to say, well, typically when we sell to organizations like this, what persona is our champion?
So they target the right persona.
They target the right persona. Same thing for economic buyers. Also, they can start to think about who is the competition here, which could start with thinking about, well, who's the incumbent? Often, depending on what you're selling, but often you have that intel when you look at an account, whether it's, you know, you're able to see what technology they're using for various different means, depending on what you're selling, of course. So you can start to form your point of view based on an outside-in perspective about who the competition is, right? Through to the process, which is less important for SDRs, of course, because you really are just at the start of the process, but you still want to consider, you know, what are we trying to get here? Are we trying to get a meeting? Are we trying to get, you know, just some light engagement, whatever it may be. And so now I may not, if I'm, you know, let's say I'm making a cold call, or let's say I'm writing an email, I may not use all those elements, but I do now have a very, very, very strong point of view about what value to which stakeholders. And I can start to craft my message. The way I love to define this is, and this is more for maybe technical listeners, but MEDDPICC in this example is like the back end code. It's those components that inform the front end. And then it's the SDR's job to use their style, their voice, the latest, you know, ways of capturing people's attention they've got. But within that, they still have to build in, you know, what pain do we solve? What value do we get from solving the pain? And who cares about it, basically, which is those elements. So that's just the start. And then, of course, the beauty here, of course, you know where I'm going to go with this, is once you've booked that meeting, what do you get?
A way better handover and cohesion going over to the AE.
Exactly right.
I think that a lot of this, if we zoom out and we look at some of the data that is out there, everyone can just find this, is that the majority of a customer journey, when they're still a prospect, happens before they ever speak to someone, right? So if we think about that, and it always does connect back to value and stakeholders primarily, right, on the front end there, it's like, what are we doing if we don't focus on that in a cohesion way just yet, right? We're just not creating the optimal buying experience. And a lot of like conversion will depend on it. And so I think that if you flip this on its head, and MEDDICC, especially if you look at the background, is also about reverse engineering the way that customers are buying So if we don't do it in PG, then what are we doing, right? And that goes for SDRs, it goes for marketing and positioning, it goes for everything that we do in terms of how we put ourselves out there as a business so that ultimately we get the best possible experience for those customers created and, get maximum results from it.
Yep. And last point, and one of my favorite points of this is typically, not always, but I would estimate maybe like 80% of the time, SDRs, they're the talent of tomorrow, they're the AEs of tomorrow. And so if you can start to embrace the common language, the framework that is used at the sharpest end of our industry, and you start to learn the language, start to see how it's deployed, you start to pick up on how some experienced AEs you get to work with, talk in MEDDPICC language and use it as a framework to guide them, then you're going to hit the ground running when you eventually get that promotion into the field.
So in short, they create a better customer experience.
Mm-hmm.
They improve win rates and conversion rates by just, booking more quality meetings for AEs. And it infuses career development.
Sounds like everyone should be using it.
Cheers, Andy.
Cheers to that.